Greetings and salutations to you all. Once again, it is me, the Ravenous Spectre, and today I actually want to give my thoughts on the Secret of Mana remake. Now, you've had people going and making these different types of rant videos about how the game is so terrible. It's a disgrace to the original game. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. You know, why was this made? Blah, 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 blah. You know, and I mean, everybody is going to have their thoughts or opinions on the matter. And I mean, it's justifiably so. The only thing is I can't understand for the life of me why it is that this game is getting so much hate. I mean, I actually was going to wait for a sale on this game digitally if I couldn't find it physically. And in a way, I kind of had something going on in my head where I was like, I really want to get this physically because it would just be a cool thing to have. I didn't pre-order it at all because it was like, oh, you got to pre-order this game. It's only available at GameStop, otherwise you won't get it. Which, you know, was a load of BS because even though it was the last copy at the GameStop that I went to, I still just walked in there and picked it up without having to pre-order it. You know, so I basically got by the skin of my teeth. And while I could have just waited for it to go on a sale digitally, like say $20 or something like that, I really wanted to be able to get it physically. But the thing is that when I got it home and I started playing it, I honestly really liked what I was playing. I liked the graphics and everything about it. You know, obviously the voice acting was a little off. I mean, the thing is, though, is that people are trying to compare this to the original cartridge and the original game that it came out, and I don't understand why it is, knowing that it's a remake, that you can go and try to go and compare it to that. I mean, I have the original cartridge. I've never completed the game, honestly. I also have the SNES Classic version as well, but I haven't played through them or beaten them or anything like that. And I actually kind of regret getting the cartridge. And I mean, you know, just justifiably so. But I've seen a lot of footage of it in action on YouTube and elsewhere. And it really seemed like one of those games I really wanted to try out, considering I'm into all different types of RPGs. And I mean, people have been complaining about the graphics. And I mean, we knew a long time ago what the graphics were going to be. I mean, a long time ago, you were seeing video and footage and everything of what these graphics were going to be. What made you think that they were just going to suddenly change out of nowhere? Like they were going to be like some super duper, like amazing AAA graphic, orgasmic, you know, eye bursting kind of things after you had already seen what it was like. And it's like it was trying to take a hint from the original game and bring it into a new light. And I mean, basically trying to get people who never experienced Secret of Mana before in its like classic way, but trying to modernize it a bit, if you will. And I mean, and I can agree with people that the voice acting isn't the greatest. That it's actually laughable. I mean, some of it seems like it's okay from what I've heard thus far, but honestly, I mean, yeah, I mean the English voice acting, no, and I'm not going to bother with the Japanese voice acting because I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to listen to a language that I don't understand. I mean, yeah, it's going to end up having the subtitles on there. But then again, when I end up hearing voice acting, I want to actually be able to look at everything else that's on the screen, the graphics, the characters, all of that. I don't just want to have to sit there and read the subtitles the entire time, especially if there's like movement that's going on within the cutscenes or whatever. But I mean, really, these people don't need to try and ruin it for other people who are first trying this game out, even though it's a remake. I mean, people are always complaining all the time about these different types of remakes and remasters, like a whole lot, even though those are some of the exact same kind of people that are wanting these remakes and remasters to come out. And even though they see footage and things way beforehand and see everything of what the game is really going to be before it comes out, they go and complain about it after the fact. I mean, I don't get it, especially when you're talking about the graphics when you already knew what they were going to be beforehand. It just, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of aggravating also with the lips not moving when the characters are talking. I can understand that as well. So yeah, there can be a few little nitpicky things dealing with that. I mean, not every game is perfect. It's not. But the amount of hate that I've been seeing with this has just been astronomically insane. You know, I mean, now, like I mentioned before, given that not every game is perfect, I mean, but there are some things that can be overlooked with the game from my own perspective. I mean, I'll admit the attack pattern took a little bit of getting used to, considering I had never played the game before previously, and I wasn't really aware that I couldn't constantly spam the attack button. The shortcut keys also help as well, how you can also put magic or healing items on either like I think it's like the L1 or the R1 button, which means you don't have to go through like menu after menu kind of thing, even though that there are menus and things you have to go through, considering the fact of it being the RPG that it is, the action RPG that it is, and it's also trying to harken back a bit to what it was previously on the Super Nintendo way back when. I mean, personally, to me, it seems so far, anyways, like your party members are kind of like dumber than a box of rocks. It's like you kind of need to babysit them thus far. At least that's what I've experienced so far. I mean, I've gotten through it fine with the main character, with just having like a couple ghosts follow me around, you know, which is basically like the corpses, if you will, of your party members. Granted, at this point in the game, I feel like I kind of need to grind a little bit. I'm currently at like this tiger-like beast boss thingy. You know, everybody, like I mentioned before, everybody's going to have their own opinions, and it's justifiably so on the matter. But it's crazy to me that it seems like people are just constantly complaining about this, about how it's so terrible. It sucks. All this other stuff. I'm like, people pretty much knew what was happening beforehand. You saw gameplay beforehand. You saw what it was going into it. You pretty much knew what you were going to be getting going into it. I mean, personally, to me, I hadn't even played the original game, and just seeing the original game and then seeing the remake, looking at both of them side by side, it's like, well, it's pretty much kind of the same game. You know, obviously there's going to be some mechanics and things that are going to be modernized or whatever, or rearranged when it comes to dealing with the control scheme and things of that nature. But also, one other thing that I also wanted to mention was dealing with the music. Now, the rearranged soundtrack, some tracks are good and some tracks are not so good. So there have been some times where I actually switched back previously to the original soundtrack of the game. So you have that choice too, whether you can either just stick with the original one, or you can go with the modernized, remaked one, if you want to call it that, the remastered one, if you will. You know, because they take different instruments and things and try to recreate the music, if you will, throughout the game. But another thing, one of the things that I thought that was kind of interesting, at least in my mind, I know it didn't happen with the game itself, but if you could actually go back to going to the original soundtrack, I also thought it would be cool if you could go back to the way the original game looked as well. If you could switch back and forth between those, I think that would actually be really interesting. And another thing is, probably maybe there wouldn't be as many hate videos going on for the game right now, because I don't know. I guess in a way it's kind of like you're trying to cater to both people. You're trying to cater to the people who like the classic version, and you're also trying to cater to people who want the remake and who want to get into it, or people new that's coming to the series, if you will, or to the title. I think that would have been something cool if they ended up doing that. It would have been kind of funny switching back and forth between like the modern version and then the classic version, back and forth like that. But if you can do that with the soundtrack, why not go ahead and just do it with the game itself, like with the graphics? But then again, probably maybe the mechanics itself that was in the remake would also be in the original version. I'm not necessarily sure. Or maybe the original version would have its usual mechanics as it would previously than it does now. But anyways, I kind of just wanted to give my whole thoughts on this and how I felt about it, because there's been a lot of that going around, and I'm just like, well, you're gonna have people who are going to be against it. You're gonna have people who are going to stand up for it, and I'm just one of those people who's standing up for it. Like I said, haven't beaten it. I don't know how far I am into the game, but from what I've experienced so far, I've been enjoying it. I've been liking it. So yeah, it's definitely a buy for me. But personally, I really do think that maybe if I were you guys, I would wait on a sale. I kind of pushed it a bit when I'm like, oh, well, it's $40. I honestly thought that it was $30, but I was like, okay, well, it's $40. I'm like, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll take the plunge with it, because I actually wanted to have it physically. So I was like, okay, but I really would probably wait maybe the 20 to pushing it to the $30 range, kind of in between there, if you guys are really wanting to get into it or check it out. Or if you're just like, the hell with it, I just want to go ahead and get it. You know, I'll just go ahead and get it digitally, or if you can find it physically, that would be awesome as well. But I highly suggest that if you guys are kind of on the fence about it, wondering how it is, so definitely just go ahead and give it a shot. If you have to go and see gameplay on YouTube or elsewhere, or Twitch or what have you, to go and see if you want to get into it, then so be it. I actually ended up doing a couple streams of it as well for the game. If you guys want to go and check it out in the gaming streams channel, the gaming streams sector that's on my channel. I think I've already put it in there. If I haven't, I'll have to go check on that and do that. But anyways, yeah, so just want to give my thoughts on it. If you guys have any thoughts or comments or anything like that, then leave them below and we can get a discussion going on. But anyways, I will go ahead and I will end this like I always do. Later, taters.